Welcome back, everybody, to the Egg Leaders on Air podcast. I'm Grace Wolgerman,
Jake Hansen.
and we are here for the second time again because somebody
Whoops.
has had, don't mind me, but I'm not going to say that, terrible day.
Very bad. Very, very bad.
First, forgets the camera that we recorded. If you're wondering why it's just audio, that's why. Second, put a memory card? No.
FB.
An SD card in that was almost full. So we talked for 20 minutes and only 5 was recorded. So here we are again. Obviously you don't know what we're up to today, but our fun fact of the day. Fun fact. Oh my god.
Okay.
Butterflies taste with their feet. They have taste receptors on their feet, which helps them identify the right food sources. This allows them to determine what plants are suitable for laying their eggs and what nectar sources they should visit. And today we have a wonderful guest on. Chaotic but wonderful. We have Miss Meredith Sturm.
Hello.
She is our chapter president. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to introduce myself. So I am Meredith Sturm. I'm our current chapter president here at Carroll Area, FFA. And I have been a member for the last 2 years. I've been a member for the last 3 years, and then officer for the last 2 years.
Math is mathing.
I don't take a math class right now.
Oh.
We can tell.
You're muted. Jake.
What?
You're muted.
Oh, shit. Oh, shoot. Whoa, okay.
Do you want to repeat that?
That's what we can tell.
My ACT's a 27.
I'm not taking it.
Some people have no future. I hear it cannot be put on
Stop
air.
chewing on your cookie and answer.
Anyways,
I'd like to
when I
keep
leave
silent.
off here, I've been an officer for the last 2 years. I've probably done every activity under the sun available in Carroll County. I have been involved in speech, individual and large group, musical productions, play productions. I played volleyball. I currently play tennis and run track. I am involved in band, winter guard.
You play track and run tennis?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Ma'am.
I play the hurdles, you know. Some days they play me.
You end up eating the ground.
That was actually Noel, yeah.
Actually, the second track meet I went to, I fell on the second to last hurdle in my very first 400 hurdle meter run.
Oh, no.
I had to go to the chiropractor after that one. That wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary. But what else have I done? I'm missing something.
Speech.
Plants.
Talked about speech. Plants. Some of my hobbies. I'm a big flower person. I like to cook. I like art. I love painting stuff. It's really tragic. Haven't been in art class since my freshman year, and it tears up my soul.
Oh, that's so depressing. I haven't had it since last semester. That was my first one, and swept at our art show, though. I cleaned the floor.
I swept in art one, let me tell you. Painting fundamentals is not ready for me next year. And
This is more comfy.
of course,
You look like a bird.
he's perched right now.
I am perched.
He's like
He's
sitting-
got the cushion off the chair.
Imagine
more comfortable
sitting
without
there.
the cushion.
Imagine like a toddler in like the car seat, and he doesn't want his legs down there because there's like that middle thing that's bumpy, so he's sitting like crisscross applesauce.
That would be correct.
hands in the cookie jar style.
Mm-hmm. Twisted like a pretzel.
Anyways, would you
My
like to
most-
explain your SAE?
Yes. I said my most important hobby is gardening, which is also my SAE. My SAE for the last 2 years, started right after my freshman year, is the chapter garden. And at that point in time, our chapter hadn't had someone running it for a while. It's about a 15-foot by 15-foot plot of land. And in it, we till it every year, and we plant any vegetable you can kind of imagine. I mean, there's tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, cucumber. We have a large selection of milkweed. I'm a very big proponent of companion planting, which is when you plant It can be when you plant like 2 vegetables together that like work well. It also can mean like when you plant flowers. And it kind of has a reciprocal relationship. The flowers will attract insects, which are good for vegetables, and the insects will like pollinate the vegetables, and then the flowers will also like repel bad pests. Think like mosquitoes. I'm trying to think. There's like worms and stuff like that, like the little white worms that you don't want.
The grubs.
Yes, grubs and like.
I threw one at Aaliyah
aphids.
yesterday.
Marigolds are very good for deterring aphids, and so that's what I do currently. And then this year, I'm actually going to expand it more to vegetable production. We have a large garden at our house, which I'm going to kind of keep track of the yields there. Um,
You okay?
had to take a breath there.
Good?
I think the most important part of my SE that I like to highlight is that a lot of the produce that I will.
What?
What are you on your phone for, Jake?
Put the phone down.
You.
Hang up and hang
Hang
out.
up and hang out.
You were just on your phone.
That's a lie.
I was not.
I'm also trying to pull up the outro.
The outro that we just started 5 minutes ago, I think you'll be okay.
Okay, continue.
And
Put
so
the
what I'll
phone
do
away.
with the produce
I'm
is
listening.
okay. The siblings are done fighting, so I'll continue. We'll take the produce and things like that to our local food pantry. And for the last 2 years, we've donated about. We probably make 5 rounds like every summer of like 2
Okay.
boxes full. So we do that. And that's my SAU currently.
Very fun.
I've been told I'm the plant lady when people need something done.
That would be correct, yes.
I shades green thumb.
Yeah.
I am the green thumb of Carroll area. But yeah, I just like plants. You know, you kind of throw them down and
Let them do their thing.
take care of it a little bit. Yeah, they do their thing. They're very self-sufficient. They
hope,
like to keep living.
I hope you don't use this mentality with your kids someday and just go, oh, I'll just throw them down and they'll hope for the best. They'll be okay.
Oh, they're very, very.
Would you like to tell us your roots in FFA and how they started?
Yes.
How it began?
Officially, they're all staring at me because I've told the story once before already. Because obviously, we lost some footage.
All right, that's enough.
So I'll do my best to reiterate. I've been an official member since my freshman year. I joined first semester freshman year, took intro to ag, just like everyone should do. Everyone should take an ag class. It was the highlight of my semester. You know, if you just do it to like get out of school for a period and just go drive in the middle of the day, or you do it because you're interested in ag, or you just want to hear everyone talk. I highly recommend
the
intro to ag.
yapping class. There was nothing that gets done in that class for us, at least.
Yeah.
There was a lot of drama in all of my ag classes, like good funny drama.
Drama that went down or drama that got told? Because we had both.
We had both as well. My fall horticulture class last year, drama went down.
I was gonna say our
I'm listening. I'm just like,
Jacob keeps spacing out. You're a very attentive listener. You're lucky the camera's not on, so you can stare directly into somebody's soul. But my FFA journey really started when I was little. My older brother and sister, Malcolm and Mariah, they're both members of our FFA chapter. They were officers. And so my mom, she kind of just got dubbed as mom to a lot of people. She joined our alumni, and if you don't know what our alumni is, it can be any adult person that wants to help out with our chapter. They run our fruit sales. They do various kind of little odd jobs for the chapter. They're kind of like, you know, like in your body, obviously you have like the spine. The alumni is kind of like the ribs, like keeping everything in place.
that actually
That's
kind of
a
makes
good-
sense.
that's a good,
Isn't
yeah.
That kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
That's kind of what the alumni does for the chapter. And so that's what my mom did. Her big thing is she does a lot of her fruit sale stuff. She does all the numbers. She places the order. And then she also runs our plot. It's probably one of her highlights of the year is working with our plot boys. She has a background in seed and chemical dealing. She's very knowledgeable about that. She got a degree from Iowa State. And so she kind of got like shackled with the plot boys, but she's really enjoyed it. You'll often like find find them at my house, just casually in her shop trying to talk to her about something in her little collar, and I'll be like, "Oh, your kids are calling, the other ones." But ever since I was 4, it's kind of dragged around along. So you know how like Kemper has like the night, and then Arviva has the Rockets.
The sarcasm in your voice when you said that.
Okay.
Go Rockets. Well, that was kind of like what I was for FFA as a little toddler. I was the mascot. And fun fact, actually, the Appleton Parkersburg advisor, he's from the Carroll area. He was a senior alongside, I think it was my sister. And so him and his chapter came in on like a retreat here 2 years ago. And he saw me, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I know who you are." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I know who you are." And it's like, he just couldn't believe that's the little like 4-year-old that he knew that used to go to banquet and had to go to plot day on her birthday. Was here already an officer and very, very involved in FFA. So I've always kind of been here. Dragged along by my mom and finally got a taste for it by myself independently, and I just loved it. Highly recommend this experience to anyone.
I'd have to agree with that one.
I agree too. What is your favorite story of FFA that, like, your favorite memory from, it could be ag class or it could be as an officer, just FFA in general? Like, what's your favorite story?
I gotta think about that. Ooh. We were just talking about ag class. So what's happened in our ag class? I was like,
I was gonna say, while you think, what I was saying before is like last year in our ag class, it was like drama went down because like friendships were being broken, like friend groups were being broken apart. So there was drama the entire time. And there was always people messing with like a certain person or whatever, as freshmen do, you know.
oh, that happened in our ag class too.
And this year it's just like drama's being spilled about other people. Like we sit there and gossip with our ag teacher. Sit there and gossip and just like listen to all the stories across all the classes. By the end of the day, it's just like gossip time. No one wants to do anything.
Horticulture
I
class
feel
is
like
so boring.
I can't say some of the stories I want to say because they're not all appropriate or like name dropping. But I'm trying to think. I've always enjoyed our hotel stays.
Yes.
I have never had a bad roommate when going to an FFA event, ever. Every single person I've roomed with has been entertaining. I'm trying to think. You're gonna have to edit all my silence trying to think about this.
You're good.
It's okay. We have time.
What is your favorite memory with me while I think about this? In FFA.
Oh boy.
I'd say the chaotic things that you just bring up. Because you are one for like random like stories, just like you know what this reminds me of, and it's something completely off topic, but like so I just have to like look at you all the time and just like, how did that connect for you? Because that's more interesting to me than this story that you're about to tell. But probably just the stories that I don't know that just come up randomly.
The stories that you bring up to the table randomly.
They're quite entertaining, and they're just like not what you expect.
Like probably officer retreat. Like the
I-
officer retreat and
is it-
everything like that.
That was a highlight.
Let's just say Meredith loves soaking in like water or whatever, and she loved it. She loved the retreat, and like everybody else was like freaking out. I was fine. I was like chill, but like Meredith was like, "Oh guys, let's go swim in the lake," and the lake was just disgusting.
It wasn't the worst I've ever.
It wasn't the worst. Yeah.
My friends refer to me as a river rat. Unfortunately, I prefer to go float the river or like just go swim in Hobbs pits instead of.
What happened when you brought your puppy to the Lake or River the first time?
Oh, she jumped right in. It was like March. It wasn't. So we went to Lakeview, and I like to take her to Lakeview because she can like walk the trails and stuff like that. Lakeview isn't like all that far from where I live, and we kind of were like near like, not Black Hawk Lake. It's one of the offshoots.
Okay.
And so we're just walking by. I just kind of wanted to see what she do, and she just went, whoop, right into the water. I mean, it wasn't very high, but she
Yeah.
loved it.
Was there an occurrence afterward with her though? I feel like there's
Current afterward.
because I went to drop off fruit at your house and she looked not very good at all.
Oh yeah. My older dog nipped her. Hachi put my older lab, husky mix, Hachi. She's about 13. She put her in her place. So I should say Remy is one of Grace's puppies, and they're
Yeah, we
about
talked about that last episode, yeah.
5 months old.
Did you watch the last episode, Meredith?
No,
I'm gonna
she's
be
not
honest,
a
I haven't
listener.
watched any of them yet.
Her mother is,
Getting
but she
around.
is not.
And she just, I think Hachi was eating, and Remy just got a little too close. Hachi, like, completely fine with her now. Just, like, barely, I don't remember where the hole was. There's a little hole mark by her head, so she had infection. Took her to the vet.
Everything's fine.
Oh, yeah. Now she has a different issue. She had bad gut bacteria because we live on a farm, and there's ducks, and there's a little duck
Yeah.
pond, so she probably drank something she wasn't supposed to. So we had to, like, flush out her system, and now she's getting probiotics.
Nice.
I think, I figured it out. My one of my FFA highlights was my freshman year. And I was on the conduct team. I was the vice president. And if you don't know, the vice president has to, like, memorize a lot of stuff.
I'm figuring that out.
I think you were were you the president or were you the vice president for yours?
I was the sentinel, but I am the vice president right now, so I'm figuring out the fact that there's a lot.
Yes. And at subs, we weren't supposed to win sub-districts. And there's this other chapter, Brokaw, they're from Clarinda. Very, very good at contests. Extremely good, that's their forte. And I remember just waiting for results. All of a sudden, they're like, you won. You got gold, you placed first. I went, oh! And it was just like the first time I'd really worked for something and won something. Kind of like at that competitive level.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember our whole team was so happy we went out for ice cream. Because we were in Glidden that year, so we had Dairy Mart. That's one of my favorite memories.
It's amazing.
Very
I was
fun.
expecting like something like just that you cackle over.
I can't think of anything funny right now.
Because like a lot of things are like hilarious in the moment, and then it just like passes your mind, and they all merge together.
No, like you'll be in your car, like on your way home, and you're gonna just start dying laughing.
Yeah.
Something that popped up in your mind.
Oh, I'll read the text messages between me and Mr. Aisha and Leah. Recently, we went to a horse judging contest. That's actually probably another one of my favorite memories. I walked into horse judging last year, first ever contest, placed second. We don't own horses at our house. I don't know anything about horses. So I was pretty happy with that. And this year they sent out results, and for results they didn't quite do them all the way. They were missing their reasoning scores. So basically how these contests works is you get a scorecard based on, like, I should go back here. Horse judging, you get 4 horses, you put them in order of, like, best to worst. And depending on, like, if you hit, like, what the judge thought was best to worst, or you're close, you get a score based on that. So that's your placing total. And so that went into, like, your big total. And then you have something called reasons, which is you going up to this expert and explaining why you placed what you did. And they can kind of see through you if they know you're not. They know if you're not confident. They know if you're not actually know what you're talking about. I mean, sometimes you can kind of muddle your way through, but not all the times.
Yeah.
And so that's your other half of your score. So for horse judging this year, they only had, like, the placing score up. So the first place girl all of a sudden went down to, like, 8th.
Oh.
After the reasoning scores got put in. And my favorite thing that I texted, I said, it's like when they took Miss Universe away from the Philippines. And I sat in my car and laughed. And Mr. Eyeshine laughed. That was my recent highlight. Is how much, like, pop culture jokes we make.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. Like,
our spring hort class, that's all it is. It's like Mr. Eyeshine and, like, me and Jake and Aaliyah just
going back and forth.
going back and forth. What was something we said today?
I don't know, but I'm the main target half the time. So
That's
No.
hilarious.
Not always.
Our class is usually like someone complaining about having to go to a track meet, and then either that or today we had the interesting conversation over the topic of, I'd say, labels. and like what to call certain ethnicities and certain groups
Okay.
of
Sounds
people.
like not an appropriate conversation.
I'm not gonna say fully, but let's just say there was, because Asha is very like, what do you call it, tactical, or very specific
Yeah.
on what he agrees with and what he doesn't.
Yes.
And it's just like going through that, and it was entertaining from an outside perspective. It's like one of those things where it's like listening in on it is just so chaotic and so entertaining.
Hang up and hang out, Jacob.
I need to get something done for registration for my goats, and I'm texting my dad for help. So I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm understanding what you're talking about.
Do you have anything to add?
Like to where. Sorry.
Continue, Grace.
Yeah,
Dead in
continue.
his tracks. Bro said he was listening and he isn't. Anyways, you can continue your work that should have been done before the day of. Anyways, but that, like, just going through tactical stuff and just like having the conversations that are so out of pocket that you don't realize, and just random things that pop up. It's actually the lines that we trace from one thing to another. Like our brains work in like
connecting dots.
mysterious waves. Like talking about, I don't know what we started on, but like I think we started on like ice cream one day, and then for some reason we just like jumped a whole, like we would have lapped around world twice in order to reach this next one, but someone made that connection and we just like switched conversations fully.
That's how I am, but like with people and understanding how like
Yeah.
as a community we interact and like, oh, I didn't know so and so was great friends with so and so. That like changes everything. Like, how did you two meet?
Yeah.
And like people always tell me I know a lot of people, and I do. I know like very good friends with people from Manny and from Carroll, and then I know a couple of people from Glidden. I had a good friend from Manson Northwester, Webster.
They were on a track meet last night.
Nice.
Josie was at our band large group the other day. We waved at each other, said good luck. And it's just, I like how you make these connections. And I think in FFA you make more.
Yeah.
I know for like, so for our national bus that we took to Indianapolis this year, we didn't have Pella this year.
Nope, we didn't have.
We had Bondurant Ferrar. And those Bondurant boys, they sat like right next to us. So you could like hear what they were talking about, hear what they were laughing about. And like, so now when I see them at contests, I'm like, oh, that's so and so. They're hilarious. And I tell people, I'm like, oh my gosh, when we went to Indianapolis, we were on this bus ride for 18 hours.
Too long.
We went all the way into Chicago for absolutely no reason.
And like this girl that I used to play volleyball with, like way back in the day, she does FFA, so now I see her at contests. I'm like, Amelia, what are we doing today? And like we'll go watch each other and we'll support each other. And like what you get is just this like even more interconnected web.
That's kind of what's cool. It's like we can make these friends from like across the state or within our district, and it's just like we could be competing against each other, and we're still gonna go and like cheer on the other one. Yes, you're gonna be like maybe disappointed or something when you don't get the results you want, but you'll be like, oh, I know that person that did that, and you're like so happy for them. It's like it's a big family, and I know a lot of people call it a cult, but like,
yeah,
it's like the roots of a plant system, you know?
Yeah. You want to explain that?
Yes.
What do the roots of a plant do, Meredith?
So the roots of a plant system, just like a community, they will absorb water, absorb all the good things, the nutrients, and they'll bring it up to the stem, which will then distribute out to the leaves. And what the leaves do, they're going to photosynthesize. They're going to take carbon dioxide and the sunlight, and they're going to make food. And then they're going to make this tiny little stupid excess thing called oxygen and shoot it back out, which is very important for you and me, Jacob.
Very important.
And how does that connect to what we were talking about previously?
A plant system is similar to the FFA community because all these parts are working together, and you can't have the plant survive without one or the other. You will not have a plant that thrives without leaves, it'll die. There's no way to get food. And like in FFA, if you don't go out and talk to people, and if you don't interact with people, you're gonna miss a that door just opened, scare me. You're gonna miss a fundamental part about the FFA experience.
Eyeshed is making a lot of noise.
Hopefully that's my door dasher.
Oh.
You want to go out there?
Pause.
Anyways, Meredith ordered food when we were figuring out.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Meredith ordered tacos and they finally arrived.
Yeah, and the DoorDasher just walked in the building.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Eyeshed is so tired of us.
I know.
He's so ready to be done, and we're still here.
Yeah.
I will not be silenced in this house. My tacos just got here because it's
Hey, you're on mute.
I will not be silenced. Talking on Jacob's mic. My tacos just got here because it's 7:50 p.m. And I asked the other two what they wanted for supper, and they said nothing. So Jacob got some rice, and then Grace got some chips and salsa, and then I got my burrito tacos. Unmute me.
You're unmuted.
Let me speak.
Okay.
But besides the minor interruption.
Yeah.
We're talking about family, weren't we? Connected systems.
You were
Yes.
explaining your whole
My metaphors.
yes.
Does that make sense though? Like
It does make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in order to actually grow with FFA, you have to be able to talk to people.
yes, like
You have to branch out.
that was good. That's good. Like a tree.
Yeah. I'm just going to stay quiet.
I'm impressed. Actually, that's really good. And you know the thing about plants, I talked about companion planting before. So I'm trying to think of a good example. There's this thing called the Three Sisters, and what it is you plant. Jacob does not look happy. So Native Americans, they used to plant corn, and then they would plant. That was nasty. He just coughed. So they would plant this corn, the Native Americans would, and then they would plant beans, and the beans would climb up the corn stalk, and they grow. And then at the very bottom, they would plant squash. And all three of these plants, they would like, the squash and the beans would put nitrogen and like nutrients back into the soil, and the corn would like take it out and it would use it for itself. And obviously the beans are using the corn to like flourish and grow. Because when you grow beans, you want like a trellis, so the corn acts as trellis. And then the squash kind of just like surviving down there at the bottom, taking up the space. And these three plants, they grow better together because of like this little like what word did I use before? I'm gonna think about it tonight when I'm in my car. I used it already today. What is a word for when you give something, you get something back?
You give and you take.
Reciprocal.
Yes.
It's a reciprocal relationship. And that's kind of how FFA is.
The more you put in, the more you get back.
Yes, you could say that. I like that point. The point I was trying to make, though, was, again, you can't have a good, like, I mean, you can have, like, a good FFA experience, but when you put these other things in, like, when you go out and do contests, when you run for officer positions, when you go to meetings, participate, when you just show up, I mean, it adds and enhances your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when you put certain things like marigolds out, it repels these bugs and these aphids. And, like, when you have that community and those group of, like, strong, like, good morally, good people in FFA, it repels you from doing, like, things you probably shouldn't be doing, or, like,
It
the
gives
bad
you a purpose
influences.
for doing
Yes.
good.
Yes. That's my metaphor.
Going back to the episode where I did the short segment on hydroponics, what is your take on that?
I'm gonna be so for real right now. I have asked to do hydroponics, and they're sitting in the shop.
We need to get another like aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Like the shrimp, like when I was telling you about the shrimp.
yeah, we need to get something like that. I have a
For
tank.
for reference, the FFA advisor before Mr. Eyeshide, I call him Mr. Shepherd. I don't know if that was his actual name. He kept shrimp in the shop in this like big stock tank, and they were aerated, and there was just shrimp in there. So we were talking about that, and then I think our idea was like you would. I know people that will like have these huge fish tanks in their house, and they'll connect the fish tanks to like a water plant tank.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's another reciprocal relationship. The plants will oxidize the water so the fish can breathe, and then like their poop and stuff like that will fertilize the plants. And
Yep.
yeah.
Like even what I was thinking is if we got like fish and stuff and put it in like one of the tanks, like the bigger stock tank that we have up there.
Some goldfish.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having fish. I don't know a lot about hydroponics. I just think it's so interesting because um hydroponics isn't new. Like something that really fascinates me is the Aztecs in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Like where Mexico City used to be, it was in water. It was a swamp. And so a lot of their agriculture was like based in the water. They like made these, they weren't quite islands, but they were like these farm like land masses that worked well with the swamp, and like everything was irrigated. It was extremely fertile. And so, and they were extremely good at it. I mean, like they had a huge civilization based on the back of this like Aztec agriculture.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about hydroponics is it's been around for a while, and like modern hydroponics, it's just so interesting with like how you put um, nutrients like into the water, how you like circulate it, and it's very like space conservative,
Yeah.
and it grows very fast too,
So
especially
you can have it vertical too.
because like in the bigger ones they'll have like this. It's not quite a greenhouse, but the shed, and there's no light except blue light, and it grows so fast like that. Hydroponics is very efficient. I don't know the exact science.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I have to agree.
That it is.
And I think that's the big thing in ag is like you always have to adapt, and you always have to like be looking at new practices
Yeah.
Definitely.
because like the people stay the same, but what you're doing and um how you do things change. Like the way my dad was farming like 50 years ago, it's like night and day. I mean, you look at the size of machinery, you look at um, going from like mostly row crops to nowadays you see cover crops everywhere. I mean, not everywhere, but you see more of it. You see more DNR land, you see more tiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More kind of that conservative agriculture to preserve things. Because, I mean, you face all these issues like soil erosion's huge, obviously, and like runoff. I know, especially here, it's not quite here, it's more towards Jefferson. There's a lot of like runoff from the fields because it's so fine.
Yeah.
So like sand and stuff. So like all the nitrogen and all like the chemicals you'll spray on, they can run off into like water sources, and it's like harming different water life and things like that,
Yeah.
which eventually gets to us. So kind of like a plant evolution.
Yeah.
The reason why species have survived till today is because they've evolved, they've changed.
Yeah.
You can look at, I'm trying to think of a good example. In biology, when you talk about Darwinism, you talk about those finches, or you talk about the turtles. The finches, their beaks are different depending on what island they live on. If they live on one island, they'll have like a thicker beak because the food that they eat is harder. While if they live on a different island, their beak is like smaller, it's longer because they eat insects.
Yep.
And that's kind of how like the agricultural community is today. I mean, obviously you're not going to see like
for different things that you're
walk around
farming.
with a long nose, but
Like for different things that you're farming, it's like different machinery that you have to use.
yes, different techniques.
It's the way adapting across like the globe or just even in the US like has been different. Going from like ways that we've done things here and then looking at like California or Maine, and they're looking at the same problem but in a different way.
And that's huge too, depending on like where you are, because obviously like accessibility, like if you live I think Iowa's very good for like having advanced technology and advanced like
Yeah.
machinery. I mean, if you can afford it.
Mhm.
But even if you're going like county to county and like areas in the county, how you farm has to change based on your environment. So
Mm-hmm.
like where I'm from, I'm like on the border of Sac County and Carroll County. I mean, it's a little hilly, but it's mostly flat. It's prairie. And then you go south, and all of a sudden you hit Templeton, Howard, and it's like, where did these hills come from?
The
Yeah.
hills come out of nowhere. It's like literally like the bottom of the hills. You don't have any service type of hills.
And obviously, when you go down there, you have to be mindful of like, um,
Water flow,
mhm,
um, washout,
yes,
rocks a lot of the time too,
and
which
like,
is anywhere, but
and we have some farmland near Lanesboro, Clinton, and the soil out there it's very sandy. So like,
mm-hmm.
how do you combat the sandy soil and your corn getting dried out?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have better irrigation and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a headache. I cannot imagine like just
being in
being
that.
like, how am I gonna
yeah.
do farm 1 when farm 2 needs this and this and this? I mean, I don't think people realize how smart people in the agricultural industry have to be, and like
Yeah,
how on your feet you have to.
because
Be.
a lot of time farmers are like seen as like, oh, they couldn't do anything else, so they went to
couldn't
farming.
get to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
So it's just farming. Yeah, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it that not a lot of people realize outside of the agricultural world, or even within it, like in a different like specter of it at least. So yeah.
You know, all 3 of us are from like ag backgrounds. You know, we live in a rural setting, and I think it's very true to say like some of the stuff we learned growing up in those rural settings you can't
Yeah.
teach in
Yeah.
the classroom.
There's a lot of things that even at FA, like you
Mhm.
you see people that are like Lacey, for instance, that haven't been that, so they're learning too.
Mhm.
But also like all 3 of us are from different sides of not even like the county, but like just different like sides of agriculture. Like
Yeah.
you're majorly within it, like on the fields and that type of thing. I'm more like watching from the outside, but I also like help out a lot with my grandpa, and then you have like all the animals.
Yeah.
No fault of Lacey to her own or like anybody that lives in town.
Yeah.
But there was a funny instance. Miley posted in her story, it's like ag kids will only get this, and she had this little like milk jug, and it was full of. Aaliyah didn't know what it was full of, and she's like, "I don't get what this means." I'm like, "She has hot water in it because her animal water froze," and she's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh." I was just like,
Yeah.
I guess I never, if I did not know what that was for, I would be like Aaliyah too. Like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
Why does she have a milk jug with no
Yeah.
milk?
It is kind of
Where
weird,
did the
like
milk go?
like a lot of people don't realize
Mhm.
that type of thing, but then like you see it all the time, so you're like, oh, I know what that is automatically, and they're like, that sounds insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely tell when someone has never rock picked in their life.
Yeah.
And that's also like another thing why the environment changes so fast between like
Yeah.
Templeton to Breda,
Mhm.
the glacier lines.
Yeah.
A special interest of mine. If you don't know about a very long time ago, like millions and millions of years ago, these glaciers from excuse you.
Yep.
Canada, they came down and they like moved so slowly, very, very slowly. And what they
Mhm.
did was they drug rocks with them. And kind of like where the glaciers were, they flattened the area. That's why there's a lot of like flat prairie.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just one big one, there's lots of little ones. It's kind of why you have like the Lowe's Hills in the middle of like the border between
Mhm.
Nebraska
Yep.
and here. But like between the Lowe's Hills and like Des Moines, it's flat. And then you go to somewhere like Tumwa, it's hilly because there wasn't any glacier pass down there.
Mhm.
So I always laugh when people are like, "What's rock picking?" I'm like, "You, you're so lucky."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically, all these glaciers they burn around rocks, and so you go out to a field and there'll be thousands,
Mhm.
hundreds,
Mhm.
and you have to get all of them out because it will damage machinery. It will
Yeah.
prohibit. That's the worst thing ever is when you're trying to do something and something breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's saving money and picking up rocks.
Mhm.
The long days out in the field. Oh my god, I remember those. It's like you have the tractor out, and it's just or like
We
anything
didn't
with
have the
wagon.
tractor.
Yeah.
We had the mules, the 4-wheelers.
Yeah. And then you just go and you just pick up for hours. You make like a whole line of people to like just start walking down so you can claim a section as finished.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just insane that some people have never had that experience, and we're like, well, that's why I work hard now, so I don't have to end up in the field picking rocks for
Yeah.
someone.
My bonding with my dad when I was younger was getting on a meal. You rock pick in the morning, then you go to lunch. There used to be this place in Lakeview. It was called Kathy's. It was very, very good. This is where I really fell in love with the mushroom Swiss burger. It's my favorite food, like when it comes to burgers. And then we both get malts. Or no, so we get lunch, and then we go back out, and we finish the field, and then we go home, and on the way home we get malts.
Mm.
And that's like the thing me and my dad did. That was like our thing.
Like every weekend, that's like your thing that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are out of time. We just reached 40 minutes,
That
so
means they're tired of me. But
No, that means that we're
That
gonna
means-
let Aisha go home.
yeah, I should
Because
done with us.
yeah, we were supposed to be here at 6, and we've been here for 2 hours and only gotten 40 minutes of recording.
All right. Well, thank you for watching another episode of the Ag Leaders on Air podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and our side of the agricultural world. If you have any questions or want to get in touch with us, feel free to reach out to us at Ag Leaders on Air podcast at gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The first name that you search up, Ag Leaders on Air, it'll probably be the first one that pops up. To make sure to stay updated on upcoming episodes and some behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, keep leading the way in agriculture and have a great rest of your day.